Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. More people are now recognising all is not well with the current approach to energy policy or net zero. And this matters because the cost of energy is deeply tied to the cost of living, the cost of doing business, and of course the security and resilience of our country. It therefore follows that any energy policy which sees us spend £250 million per month to import energy from Europe because our own production can't meet demand can only be called a failure and a security risk. The country urgently requires an energy policy that is realistic, reliable and rooted in the pursuit of prosperity. Yet what successive governments have legislated for has been anything but. The net zero agenda is not working. It is time we were honest about that fact. The target may have been well-intentioned, but the current pathway is unaffordable and unworkable. What many people will be wondering is how did we get to this point? To address that, we must look back to the Climate Change Act 2008. When this Act was passed, it was the first legislation in the world to set a legally binding national framework for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. But it only applies to territorial emissions. That is, emissions that occur within the UK's borders. This means that while it can be made to look as though we are meeting our climate targets, with a reported 54% reduction in territorial emissions since 1990, we are in fact exporting an increasing share of our emissions elsewhere. This phenomenon, known as carbon leakage, occurs when UK-based industries shut down or relocate overseas to avoid high carbon costs, only for the UK to continue importing the very same goods, often with higher embedded emissions. Net zero by 2050 may lower UK emissions on paper, but perversely it is also driving up global emissions in real terms as we become more reliant on imports. Several forces contribute to this. First, UK electricity prices are now among the highest in the developed world, driven in no small part by net zero policy. Second, under the UK emissions trading scheme, firms in energy-intensive sectors must buy allowances for every tonne of carbon dioxide they emit, a cost their foreign competitors may not face. Third, the rise of green finance regulations such as mandatory ESG disclosures and climate stress testing has constrained domestic investment into high-emission sectors, even as our competitors around the world forge ahead without similar constraints. I'm going to continue, but thank you for the offer. The economic consequences are now plain to see. Since 2021, the output of UK energy-intensive industries has fallen by around 35%. In sectors like steel, petrochemicals and fertilisers, this trend is not theoretical. The damage already done to once proud industries is plain to see. At Grangemouth in Scotland, INEOS recently announced the closure of its ethanol production facility. Its founder, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, issued a stark warning at the time, saying, "Britain is offshoring its emissions and onshoring virtue. We close plants here, import the same products from abroad and claim we're greener." Nowhere is this more apparent than in the decision to reduce North Sea oil and gas output in favour of increased imports. On paper, this slashes the UK's territorial emissions. In reality, it leaves us more reliant on volatile overseas markets, increases our net carbon footprint and surrenders billions in domestic tax revenue and thousands of skilled British jobs. We appear to have confused decarbonisation with deindustrialisation. So what do we have to show for years of adherence to the Climate Change Act and everything that came with it? The second highest domestic energy prices in the world, the highest industrial electricity prices in the world, and 12 million families struggling to pay their energy bills. I defy anyone to try and sell that as any kind of success. The old orthodoxy has been tried. It has been found wanting. We now need a better way forward, which is what we offer today with our cheap power plan that delivers on energy security, supports economic growth and protects the public from unaffordable green extremism.